Greetings, everyone, and welcome to this very special Dragons with Dash. And of course, I have Dash here.
Yes, thank you for having me. It's been a while.
I know. I'm trying to remember how long it's been, but I want to say like at least
a year, probably.
A year. And it's a special end of 2025 edition. And between us, I want to just point out we've got this beautiful snowflake obsidian dragon head. He's awesome. We call him Masonus because he really is, if you were to hold him, he's so grounding. He's also an incredible protector too. And as we kind of start to go in to those very, very busy, frenetic days that are December leading up to and into the holiday season, looking after your own energy is really a priority, is what I'm really hearing Masonus say. So what have you got to share, Dash? Oh, I know you've got a big trip coming up very, very soon. Are you excited?
Yes, I am.
And maybe we won't say where you're going, but maybe you can guess, and just if you have an intuitive pull, guess where in the world Dash is traveling to, and we'll see who gets it right, and then we'll let you know after.
All right.
But what are you feeling with the dragons? You know what I wanted to ask too is at what age were you first aware of dragons?
Well, I guess I'll start off with just the general message of the times from the dragons.
Oh, okay.
And then I can speak of all that too.
Sure.
So to begin, I suppose, I think one of the important messages as we go into the holiday season and we're surrounded by family members, many of whom, we love dearly and have our best interests at heart, many of whom may be very draining and not the people that we want to spend our time with. The dragons are
energy vampires.
Yes, the dragons want us to remember to keep our energy to ourselves and contained. They want us to all be aware that we can call on them at any point that we need them. Oftentimes people will make requests of us. They'll ask things, they'll ask for our time, they'll ask for our energy. Often we have chaos going on in our own worlds, but as people, we're empathetic. We're often willing to drop everything to go and help someone who may or may not benefit entirely from it or even deserve our help. And the dragons are always here to remind us that our purpose, first and foremost, is to serving others, but often we do that best through serving ourselves, through the process of self-transcendence and becoming the people that we're meant to be and following the path that we're meant to follow. Now, there's no one path for any person, but you'll find often in your life that you've gone down a unique path, that you're working on something, building something. Maybe it's in your career, maybe it's in education, maybe it's your business. And often when these people try to call us away, if we give into it directly, it becomes a habit, it becomes a routine. And we can fall into very negative long-term habits often of people pleasing, of trying to ultimately satisfy others. And sometimes, these relationships, they can be ones that have been present our whole lives. Sometimes with parents, we fall into habits of trying to earn their love through helping them when they're old. And though that's a wonderful thing to do, the dragons want you to be aware that you must follow your path first, and that you must understand what that means and what the actions are that you need to take every day in order to get closer to your goal, and that you put those actions above everything. And that doesn't mean not helping those who need it or those who ask for it, but it's about having firm boundaries and helping them when you have time. Often people will ask you for things and they need these boundaries to be set, and they have no intention of pulling you away from things, but we can fall into this sort of nervous system, I guess you would say sympathetic or parasympathetic reactive state.
Sympathetic.
Sympathetic. Of course, she knows with the hypnotherapy, I would hope. But it's important to not be reactive in life. Sometimes it's unavoidable, but as Viktor E. Frankl said, there's stimulus, and then there's response, and between that, man has choice, and in that choice basically lies our entire reality. We can always pick how we respond and how we choose to act before we reach that response at the end of a stimulus. And in these holiday seasons, when we're surrounded by our family, our dragons remind us to protect that as that which is important, and protect our purpose as we go forward into the world.
I love that. Protect your purpose. One of the things I love about dragons is they're incredible at helping us break those patterns. Those patterns that sometimes are really subconscious, and sometimes we can fall back into those patterns when we get kind of committed, and sometimes overcommitted to those different events, so that we're really pulled into over functioning, and that can get really exhausting. And so dragons are really amazing at helping us protect ourselves and our purpose. And I really, really love that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that, like, the power of dragon energy is that they're so amazing at help us ground, and they can really quickly help us call our power back in any situation. You just need to ask. We all have a dragon guide. Who's your dragon guide?
I think I have many dragon guides,
Yeah.
but I've always had one golden dragon named Mergeris, who has always been there since I was very young.
Ooh, Mergeris.
And I think often finding the name associated with your dragon guide is an important way to call on them and have them in your life. I think one thing that is important for people to understand is often, in life, when we fall into a reactive state, when we, are ungrounded, or we lose that sort of sense of self and purpose, often it's very hard to recognize, right? Like, we don't know when we're getting lost, distracted, when we fall into these states. So I'm curious, do you have any ways that you would recommend people find themselves in these states, or learn to recognize it so that they're able to call on their dragons to ground them?
Well, that's a great question. What I was hearing, because you talked about Mergeris,
Mm-hmm.
and he came in, and he's kind of like very much like the color of what you're wearing. He's like got this really golden bronze energy. And so it's really neat. But as a clairvoyant, it's like, when you tune into your clairvoyance, you can kind of see people's dragon guides coming up behind them, and you can kind of see the color of their scales and their aura kind of radiating through the person's eyes. So I think that's really, that's super fascinating. But one of the things that you actually just shared, which I actually think is a really strong piece of dragon guidance, is connecting with your dragon guide's name really calls them in super powerfully. And right away, like, because as soon as you said Mergeris, I was like, he's here. And our energy's just been cleared powerfully. And I don't know about you, but I've been running around all morning. I was out at various stores running errands, and I kind of came back in, and I was sitting with this really beautiful guy, and I was grounding my energy. But as soon as you called in the name of Mergeris, I really felt a huge shift in the energy and the temperature. So see if you can notice that. So one of the pieces of guidance around how to quickly clear your energy is to tune into your dragon guide. And if you don't know their name, ask for it. So let's do that right now. I also have this incredible crystal. It's stone. It's more like a stone, but it's a very rough form of dragon's blood. So also they're saying having something physical and tangible to really connect with. So this is maybe too big, to kind of put in your pocket and kind of take with you, but there's much smaller versions of all of these crystals. So two things that I'm really hearing is, one, ask for your dragon's name, and then have a stone or a crystal where you can connect with that dragon's energy, and you can have it, surreptitiously placed in your pocket, but it's with you. It's a part of your dragon that's with you, that's strongly connected with you as you go to and about these other events. Some people I know have multiple events that they go to, for example, if you're celebrating Christmas or, throughout the season. So it's really easy to get pulled off your center. And right away, when you connect with that dragon name and you say it 3 times, it really brings you into your center powerfully. So do you want to do a little exercise around that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so let's have our feet on the ground because that's really important. And this is awesome to do with your children because a lot of kids are dragon masters like Dash, and they're very, very dragon connected, and they can feel wonderful to be around. Like I know when I would go shopping with Dash when you were smaller in Toronto, it's like you would project, your auric field would project this level of grounding and protection, and it would feel wonderful. But at the same time, our dragon master children, whether they're, 8 or 18 or what have you, or 21, can also become depleted and burnt out. So it's really nice to look after their energy, to remind them to also put themselves first. So just a little piece of guidance coming in around, if you have children, and they are dragon connected, they're strong and they're grounded, but they can also start to get depleted too. So it's really awesome for you to remind them that it's really great for them to look after themselves and to really listen to themselves as well. And that goes for us as parents too, right?
Mhm.
But let's do a little exercise around this because just the simple power of connecting to your dragon's name is huge. And they also want to say, don't worry about getting it wrong. Like
Mhm.
if you're close, they'll be okay with that. But they love it when you make the effort. It feels very respectful to them when you actually take that time to ask what their name is. So I've
Mhm.
got my dragon's blood, but let's just connect, have our feet on the ground. I like to rub them a little bit. Let's take 3 breaths in our own time. Inhaling and exhaling. Feeling so grounded and connected. And we'll just call in our main dragon guide, because as Dash says, we can have many, many dragons around us, but there's one coming forward now who's especially helpful with grounding and protecting your energy. So we will just ask with love and respect, dear dragon guide, can you come and be with me, protect my energy, and tell me, what is your name? And let's just pause to receive. And what do you get? And then once you've got their name, you're going to just hold it in your heart. So having that sense of their name, we're really shifting into your heart. This really connects you with your dragon heart. And as you continue to breathe and expand, you're going to just feel your heart growing and glowing with the light of your dragon's name, feeling it expanding through your auric field. And as it does, it clears your energy. And you may feel, for example, if they are a fire dragon, you might feel a flame. You may also feel earth if they're an earth dragon. You may feel water if they're a water dragon, or air if they're an air dragon, or any combinations of those different elements. Or you may just, have a sense of that name really coming in. So we'll take 3 more breaths, just really feeling that name, clearing our energy. Yeah. Feeling it land in your heart, feeling your front, feeling your back clear, and that beautiful dragon heart expanding all around you and cocooning your energy. Feeling yourself sink into your sits bones and feeling really, really grounded. How's that feeling for you?
It's feeling very, very relaxing.
Yeah. It is really relaxing because that's the other thing about, our nervous system regulation is they're really saying when you're tense, when you're outward focused, you start to dysregulate. And so one of the ways of really balancing your nervous system is to allow yourself to relax. And so
Mm.
when dragons help you feel safe, they also help you feel that wonderful relaxation, which can feel so good. So for me, my dragon guide's name is Madge, and she's an earth fire dragon. And so I was feeling her come in and really kind of bring in that beautiful earth fire to really ground my energy. Were you still feeling Mergeris?
Yeah, yeah. No, I was. I
Yeah.
felt it feels like your energy kind of, or your reactivity gets sucked away into the ground.
Yeah.
kind of beneath your feet, like something very large and powerful takes it all out of you. And you're just kind of left as you are, focused and in the moment, not questioning, not ruminating, not stuck in a negative frame of mind anymore.
Mm.
And I think as we go forward, kind of towards the end of this year, it's also an important time to reflect on everything, right? Everyone goes into the new year looking for a time of transformation, but call on your dragon, call on your guide ultimately to be there to recognize what it is that you might be missing or what else you might need going forward. You know, in our lives, sometimes we have years, periods of time, um, decades even that don't feel right. Sometimes we feel like we're missing the thing that is important or completing in our lives, or what is required to feel complete in our lives. And often the dragons, when we're in these moments and we have the fear and we have the stress and anxiety taken away, it's a moment that we can actually see clearly. We can see what it is that we really want, what we desire, and the impact that we want to have. So you can use it as a tool to plan for the future, to understand who you are. And this end of year time is always a good opportunity to use dragons for that, and to use it as an opportunity to really move forward and become the person that you want to be.
I love that. Yeah. And as we close 2025, it is the close of a 9 year. So 9 in numerology is closure. And what I love about dragons is they really help us become so fearless. They help us really access deeper and deeper layers and levels of courage. And they encourage us to think big. They encourage us to ask the big questions. Like I think you said, how can we complete? How can we complete this year in a way that is transformative, but is also helping us plant those seeds for 2026. And what I was hearing them say earlier today is 2026 is a year of reinvention. So there's a lot of creativity that's really available to us. And as Dash says it, once you get clear, you can actually tune in and connect and receive that wisdom and guidance for yourself. And there's so many powerful things about dragons, but it feels like they're just coming forward on a whole new level to empower us moving forward in 2026. So, yeah, I love that.
Mm-hmm. Another thing that I think is very important to remember when calling on and using the dragons as well is that often when things aren't as we want them to be, when we're feeling reactive, when we're around other people who have seen us at various points in time, maybe not the best points in our lives, maybe, at more vulnerable times when we were younger, dragons are creatures of non-judgment. And sometimes it's a hard concept to understand because us as humans are such creatures of judgment. And the thing of judgment fundamentally is that it's something that limits you more than it limits anything else. Judgment ultimately is a tool
Yes.
that not a tool, perhaps a sort of trapping that when applied to others actually limits you in that same way. For example, anything that you judge someone else for is immediately something that you judge yourself for. And when you call on your dragons to ground yourself, when you're in this frame of mind where you're lifted and free from fear, from emotion, from everything else, sometimes your judgment can still stay there. And it's in these moments where you can remove your emotions that you understand and can find your judgments and start to attack them and remove them. And you can call on your dragons to understand these, because often we see people in positions that we want to be in. We see lives out there that we want to be our lives. And we don't necessarily know what other people are doing, what they've been through, everything else. But it is important that we don't judge others for their experience and that we focus solely on what it is that with what we have, we can accomplish, and applying gratitude for everything that is present in our lives. And if you're connected to your dragon, there's so much more in the way of opportunity that is now open for you, that you have to recognize that your life is fundamentally empowered in a way that you cannot even imagine or begin to imagine how bright your future can be.
I love that. Yeah, when the dragons are with you, the way they are now, they're saying, get ready because we will help you take it to the next level
Mm-hmm.
in such a powerful way. And I love that when you mentioned gratitude, when you said that, there was this whoosh of this beautiful pink golden light, and there were all these pink golden gratitude dragons coming in. And so let's just allow for that gratitude connection to come through, because that's it creates such a beautiful shift. It takes you back into your heart, and it really moves you out of that judgment. And I really love how dragons are not judgmental.
Mm.
They're really about, inspiring us to become our higher selves, but to be really embodied versions, to take action in a way that is meaningful to us and to help us really protect our path, and to also encourage those around us to do the same. Feels so warm and cozy.
So thank you very much for listening to our lovely conversation here. I enjoyed it very much, and I hope
And
you
we'll see
guys
you
enjoyed it as
again.
much as we did. And stay tuned for our next episode, which should be to do with New Year's.
When you're back from your trip.
Take care.
Namaste.